It doesn't get any better than Moe's Pizza, don't we know it? Here at 1112 Avenue H in Westwego, the home of the big pie. You want substance, you want quality, you want quantity, you want it all. You gotta come to Moe's Pizza. They did. They're happy, they're smiling, and when the crew's smiling, that means we're happy too. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLA.com, sportsNOLAtv, and a pleasant good evening to you. So glad that you've joined us here this evening from Moe's to talk about what's happening on the local football scene. So much to talk about. We'll have prep football later in the show and our player of the week. Also, LSU and Tulane football and where they are at this stage of the season. And of course, your New Orleans Saints. And naturally, we do it with our regulars, an outstanding host of panelists who get it done every week, starting with Torrance Small, former New Orleans Saints wide receiver par excellence. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, glad to be back, Ken. Hey, miss you guys as well as I miss the Saints. Glad to be back. Hope we have a great weekend.
Simple and sweet. Brian Ellie Walsh of sportsNOLA.com. It's always a pleasure. Mr. Journalist, good evening to you.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. It's always a pleasure to be here. And I'll tell you what, don't touch that dial because we've got a great show lined up.
And you know what's amazing is we get correspondence from people all over the country who see this show on a regular basis from parts above and beyond. Ricky Zeller, former Saints PR guy, says hello to Ricky and to Torrance because he used to be with the Saints and he saw us up in Green Bay last week. So with that, the Hall of Famer Ricky Jackson gets to weigh in. Ricky, good evening to you.
Man, good evening, Ken. I tell you what, man, the Saints off this week, but we ain't off, so we still work.
We're never off. Just keep working through it. You got to have work ethic, Torrance. You just have to keep plugging forward.
Hey, that's what makes us better. We keep working, and hopefully by the playoff time, we'll be right.
We'll be right. I don't know. Brian thinks he's right all the time. Just ask him, he'll tell you.
Against me.
Right,
you
well,
always
no,
think
and of course Ricky's here to keep him in check now. You know, you weren't intimidating enough to do that,
Yes.
so we brought Ricky in this year to keep him in line.
Oh, yeah,
And
as
he
you can
truly
see,
has.
Ricky made him dress like him.
Isn't
Kenny,
that
I was going to let my friend pass. I was going to let my friend pass about this work ethic thing, but
It's all
we know
good.
better.
When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look at the New Orleans Saints to date, including top plays of the season when sportsNOLAtv continues from Moe's Pizza in Westwego on WHNO Channel 20. Sean Payton has sure figured this bye thing out and how to approach the week following, the week before they go back and play after the bye. I'll get it straight one way or the other. Bottom line is, as the numbers would suggest, they've been terrific in terms of winning games and in terms of scoring points. So we'll see if that trend continues against Buffalo on Sunday. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv from Moe's Pizza in Westwego. We saw the top 10 plays. The Saints are 5-1, so let's talk about it. Brian, to be 5-1 right now is exactly where you'd like to be. You'd rather be 6-0, but 5-1, if you would have said that prior to the start of the season, you would have said, I'll take that.
Absolutely, Kenny, and the week that we've had off here to reflect on the first 6 games, I think there's still, probably in the community and the fan base, there's still a little bit of sting left, but you're absolutely right, from the loss at New England, but you're absolutely right. 5-1, this club is pretty much right where it should be, wants to be, as they get ready for the final 10 games here.
Now let's talk pluses and minuses. Torrance, as you look at what the Saints have done so far, what do you see as the biggest pluses that they've been able to accomplish?
The biggest plus is we've been able to win up front. Last year we weren't able to win up front on the defensive side, and this year we're able to rush with a front four without putting in a blitz package. As the season goes on, we are adding a little bit more blitz package in once teams get film of us. But one thing, the best thing the defense is doing is rushing the passer. I mean, they're getting up the field, and it's not just one person. They're doing it collectively. this defense is playing collective. It's not just one guy you can pick out that's saying that we have a star on defense. It's not there. Probably the closest one is Cameron Jordan. He's probably the closest. But other than that, they are playing collective ball. The defensive backs are playing. The safeties are playing. The D-line playing. Linebackers playing. Everybody is contributing in.
All right, Rick, what do you see as far as pluses are concerned for the Saints?
Well, I mean, you got a new defensive coordinator, and I tell you what, man, the guys are bought into the system, and that's the whole thing. I mean, you get good coaches around you, guys want to play football, and I think Rex Ryan, I think the coaching really did a great job since he got him, and I think Rob just got the guys just playing great football.
Yeah. Brian, as far as pluses?
Pluses, let's see. I would think that they have been making plays on defense, and they've got playmakers, which is the term I like to use when it comes to defense, and they've lacked that the last couple of years. You know, Malcolm Jenkins has had a very good season, and I think Kenny Vaccaro in the back end also. These guys are making plays at crucial times.
Well, since we've talked about pluses and defense so far this year, let's take a look at some of the Saints' defensive numbers on the year, where they rank in terms of the NFL. Rushing yardage, 11th in the league. That's good. Passing yardage, not quite as good. Total yards, very good. And scoring, most impressively, outstanding. 4th best. And turnover margin, that's a big plus as well. So when you look at those numbers, Torrance, you're looking at a winner.
Yes. With our offense, that's a winner. We can get the ball back. We're putting the ball in Drew's hands 6 more times than we are putting the ball in our opponent's hand. And that right there states wins. And that's what we've been doing. That's why we've been able to win ball games, because we're keeping the ball in our best player's hand, which is Drew Brees.
All right, let's talk about minuses thus far for the Saints in terms of what they need to shore up, where they haven't been as good as they could be. Torrance?
Run game. The run game, but I like to say we haven't been as great as we would like to be, but we have been effective in sort of a way, because teams are still playing against our play action, and we're able to get the ball over the linebacker's head. That is the plus. We haven't been consistent running the ball. I think getting 100 yards a game, but collectively the guys are getting in, they are getting yards, and we are being effective because we are still being able to run our play action pass.
Ricky, what about minuses thus far?
Oh, I'll tell you what, I mean, Terrence said the run game, but one thing about football is, you know, everybody, no team you're going to find that got both of them. The Saints got a great passing. You ain't going to find running and passing too much in the NFL now. So, I mean, the run, you know, not as popular around here. You know, everybody trying to get Drew Brees to get the ball downfield and make big plays.
Ryan?
Well, I disagree with our esteemed colleague here. I think that what Torrance is saying with regards to the run game, Mr. Jackson, is that this team is not running the ball effectively at critical times. I don't think you need a 1,000-yard rusher. I don't think you need to rush 150 yards every game, Ricky. But you do need to get first downs at critical times and moves the chain. The other thing I think that is a minus is this, is that they can do a better job of protecting number 9. He's the franchise. Way too many sacks. He's taken way too many hits. And so I guess you can say run blocking and pass blocking, they can definitely get better.
Let's take a look at the Saints' offensive numbers and how the team ranks NFL-wise thus far. Rushing yardage bears out what Torrance spoke of. Passing yardage, clearly good. Total yards, quite good. Scoring is good. And yet you get the feeling, as you look at the Brees passer rating, that they have not hit on all cylinders as of yet, Torrance. They can play better offensively.
Yes, we can. I think the one thing that we haven't done this year that we have done in recent years is get the ball down the field. That's one thing we haven't done. We haven't just found that guy who's going to be a speed guy to stretch the field for us. We've been putting Jimmy Graham out there some. It's been helping out. But as this year goes on and guys get more film on him, they're not going to let it happen. As you can see what happened in the New England game. They're not going to let it happen. So we have to find somebody else that can stretch this field, open it up a little bit more.
Oh, by the way, Chris Ivory had a 100-yard rushing game for the Jets against New England this past weekend.
Yes.
Oh, by the way, Rick, as you move forward, in my estimation, Kyrie Robinson's got to carry the football more. He has the ability to make people miss, running through tackles, has some burst, and they don't really have anybody else like that. Do you agree?
I agree. I mean, but I like Stroll too. I like both of those guys. We just got good speed bikes, and I think, you know, they're smaller guys, but both of them can make people miss. And I think that as the season goes, they're going to be implemented more into the system.
Brian Robinson's the only guy with size and speed, it would seem, that can make people miss. Sproles is perfect for what he does, and that leaves us with, we know what Pierre Thomas does in the screen game and beyond. Leaves us with Mark Ingram. We're back to that again because he should be healthier now. what do you do?
Yeah, we'll see. You know, the trading deadline is October 29th, and it's fast approaching. And I know Sean Payton has squelched those reports weeks ago. We'll wait and see what happens. I know that they would have to get a lot for a trade for Mark Ingram. One other thing, Kenny, just real quick along the offense. I think their red zone efficiency could be increased. Isn't it funny we talk about the problems on this team? Problems have been about offense, lack of running game, an efficient running game, goal to goal, or red zone efficiency, and then the ability to protect open holes on run and then protect Breeze properly. Isn't that funny we're talking about the offense?
Well, my thing, as long as they win, and that's what counts.
Absolutely, because another aspect that we haven't even discussed about this football team is their kicking game, and it's really good.
Yes.
Aaron Hartley has come back strong, kicking the football. Thomas Morstead is elite. Return game is solid, nothing spectacular, but solid. Bottom line is this kicking game is upper echelon, and that makes a big difference as well. And when you're talking about coaching, clearly they're in good shape there, in better shape than they were a year ago. You talk about intangibles off the charts. This is a motivated football team. So a lot of things going in their favor. Have to take full advantage now because San Francisco's coming on and playing like they're capable. Seattle is quite good. We're going to get into our NFL segment coming up next segment. And obviously, there are other good teams in the NFC too. So we look forward to what is to come. It all starts with Buffalo in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome this coming weekend. When we return in just a moment, we'll take a look around the NFL. Winners, losers, impressions, all of that and more as Sports NOLA TV continues from Moe's Pizza, Avenue H in West Wego on WHNO, Channel 20. Our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening. Marcus Colston enters Sunday's game against Buffalo 136 yards shy of the Saints' career record for receiving yards. And the question, who holds the franchise career record of 7,854 yards? No multiple guess here. Simple question, should not be hard. And I'll give you a hint, it's not Torrance Small. So he didn't make the trivia list this week. Ken Trahan, Sports NOLA TV from Moe's Pizza in West Wego. As we enter our NFL segment, it's been a very sad weekend for a couple of guys who were connected, one of whom had connections to New Orleans. Bud Adams, the owner of the Houston Oilers and then the Tennessee Titans, passing away at the age of 90 earlier today of natural causes. And of course, that was preceded by the unfortunate passing of former New Orleans Saints head coach and Oilers head coach Bum Phillips at the age of 90 on Saturday. Ricky, you had a chance to play for Bum. He brought you here to New Orleans, and I know this is a loss for you, and I know you wanted to share a word or two about Bum.
I'll tell you what, Bum brought me here in '81, and what I like about him, he gave me the starting job before I even got here, and you know, I was his man, he was my man, and you know, I really cared a lot about Bum. I think that, you know, he was a coach that really cared about his players. You can see that by him trying to bring a lot of the ex-players from Houston over him when he got over here. You know, he wanted to win, but you know he knew he had some great players in Houston, so he tried to bring those guys over here to mix with us to win ball games. We had about 17 rookies to come in, and all of us stayed together today. You know, Bum brought some good guys here, and I really respected that. And I moved to Destrehan because of Bum. Bum was staying out in Destrehan. I moved out there with him. And we just did a lot of things together, you know, my first 2 or 3 years. You know, I learned a lot from Bum. He was like a father figure to me.
Very special, and indeed a guy that ingrained himself in the memory of fans both in Houston and New Orleans. As we take a look at NFL scores from this past weekend, things begin to shape up pretty interestingly around the league. Seattle, definitely the real deal as they took care of Arizona. Atlanta held off Tampa Bay. Carolina looking good, whipped St. Louis in a game that featured a whole bunch of arguments and fights and ejections. Cincinnati, a last-second field goal to win at Detroit. Impressive win. San Diego keeps Jacksonville winless. Buffalo comes to New Orleans off of a win at Miami. The Jets with a big overtime win over New England. Controversy there. Dallas shuts down Philadelphia. Nick Foles didn't do much and then got hurt. Washington outscored Chicago in a wild game. San Francisco jumped all over Tennessee and then won by 14. Green Bay took care of Cleveland. Kansas City still unbeaten. They edged Houston it was Pittsburgh with the last-second field goal to beat Baltimore. And, of course, the big one, Indianapolis at home, outscoring Denver, the Monday night game, Minnesota, and the New York Giants. All right, Brian, you look at those results. What gets your attention?
Well, I'm going to let my esteemed colleagues focus on last night's Indianapolis Denver game. I'm going to take a look at the game involving the Patriots and the Jets. Ironically, it was the same score, 30-27, that the Saints lost at New England the week prior. And the Jets are a team to be reckoned with in the AFC East. Geno Smith is playing not like a rookie. He's one of those really gifted players who's buying in, and his teammates are buying in around him. And Rex Ryan's got this team playing, and we're going to see this team in 2 weeks at MetLife Stadium. I think they're going to be reckoned with as the season goes forward.
George?
Kansas City. Kansas City is for real. They took down Houston this week, and they're the only lone unbeaten team right now. And they're playing like it. Have a great defense, and Smith is managing the game. They're doing a great job managing the game, have great running backs, have a lot of skilled players over there that can play. A very balanced team. Andy Reid, my hat's off to you. I had the opportunity to play for Andy Reid over in Philly. Great coach, great offensive mind guy. And right now he just had Smith over there just managing the game, and their defense. The defense, they sent, I think, 6 players last year to the Pro Bowl, and they haven't dropped off yet. They're still playing great ball. And I think Denver is not going to be as easy as a lot of people think it is in the AFC for them to just take it. Not just in their division, they're going to have it tough because Kansas City is there.
I agree. Ricky?
I'll tell you what, I like San Francisco. I like what the defense doing over there. Coach Vic Fangio, I told him today that he's the best defensive coach in football. But, I mean, I just take my hat off to those guys. They're really playing good football. But my thing is Carolina. I mean, that's a team that you're going to have to see about and reckon with. They got a great defensive front. They got a great defensive team. And if Cam Newton do his job and don't turn the ball over and manage the game, Carolina will be a hard team to beat.
And I'll point to Cincinnati. Here's a team that went on the road, won at Detroit against a pretty good football team, kicked the field goal to do it at the end. The Bengals are good, and they finally believe they're good. And that's a big part of it for teams that haven't been successful for quite some time. And I think this is the year they get over the hump. I think they're going to win their division, and I think that's going to put them in a position to win at least one playoff game. This is a good team. Of course, the game on Sunday night that everybody pointed to, Indianapolis, I have to point them out because let me tell you what they've accomplished so far this year. Indianapolis has beaten, think about this, Seattle, San Francisco, and Denver. In my mind, the 3 best teams in the NFL. With all due respect to the Saints, those are the 3 teams to beat in the NFL. And the Indianapolis Colts have beaten all 3 of them, and I think that speaks volumes. Let's take a look at the NFC South standings now after the Saints enjoyed a bye week. And now, as Ricky alluded to, here comes Carolina. We talked about them last week, and Carolina's at Tampa Bay, big divisional game this week. Atlanta's got Arizona on the road, and Tampa Bay, as we mentioned, taking on Carolina. So, Brian, as you look at that, the Falcons got back on track with a win. Harry Douglas, a big game. They're capable of making a run. Carolina, as Ricky mentioned, very good up front defensively. Cam Newton's playing better. Steve Smith got excited last week. So as a result, I think the Panthers are, as I've said for weeks, the team to watch.
Absolutely, and they've got a very good defense. And I agree with Ricky on this, is that they've, the Saints play Carolina twice in the final month, the final 4 games. And don't look now. The Saints are going to have to keep winning because I think Carolina is going to make a difference. They're going to make some noise in the NFC South.
And they play the Saints twice yet, Torrance.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's the big thing in all of this right now. Is they have an opportunity to gain 2 games because they play us twice. We haven't played them yet, but we'll see. As this season progresses, as I said and talked about early in the season, is that we have to take it by quarters. We won the first quarter. We're on our way, doing great in the second quarter because it's a long season.
Julio Jones out, and of course Roddy White's been hurt all year. Ricky, can the Falcons actually turn it on and make a run?
Well, I don't think so. I don't like Atlanta no how. I think a lot of those guys are soft guys over there. Used to getting to see that. I mean, a lot of them stayed hurt. So I never did have a whole lot of stock in Atlanta. I know they got a great tight end. I like him, but the rest of those guys, I didn't put a lot of stock in them.
Where's the tissue at? Soft as tissue, Brian.
Tell them what you really mean, Rick.
We were talking about Steven Jackson, and again, I agree with you, my friend.
Yes. Yeah.
Steven Jackson,
Stays hurt.
30-year-old. He's taken a lot of hits, and he's old. He's old.
You know old.
And that's part of it. And that's what happens when you get older players at that stage of their career. We'll take a timeout. When we return. Grambling football. Who's at fault? What's going to happen? As Sports NOLA TV continues from Moe's in West Wego. Our sportsNOLA.com trivia question of the evening, at least from the panel's mind, wasn't very challenging, Lenny. Marcus Colston goes into Sunday's game 136 yards shy of the Saints' career record for receiving yards. Who holds the franchise career record of 7,854? There were really only two choices, but we all knew who it was. And the correct answer, as Ricky knows and Torrance knows, Gade played with Eric Martin out of LSU in Van Vleck, Texas, who was outstanding during the course of his 9 years here in New Orleans. Just a guy that was physical and caught the ball and really kind of played like a tight end, shielding himself from DBs because he didn't get a lot of separation, but he's just a really good football player and a Saints Hall of Famer like Ricky. Sports NOLA TV continuing from Moe's Pizza, 1112 Avenue H in West Wego. And it is time now for our Hot Seat segment. And the Hot Seat segment is brought to you by Pride Services AC and Heating. Pride Services handles all your AC and heating needs. Since 1984, Pride Services skilled technicians have serviced and repaired all brands and models. They never charge for on-site estimates and pride themselves on fast, reliable service. Get out of the hot seat and call Pride Services. Pride Services will fix it right today, be here tomorrow since 1984. The once proud Grambling football program is a shell and a shadow of that, and that's being kind. Not just the record, which has been terrible over the last year and a half to 2 years, but also what transpired most recently at Grambling, where the football team elected not to play and forfeit a game against Jackson State. Our hot seat topic of the day: who is at fault here? Is it the Grambling administration, or is it the Grambling players? Brian, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Trahan. This is a great topic. I'm going to immediately silence any critics and say, to me, it's the administration. I side with the players on this, and I'll tell you why. Obviously, these problems have been ongoing for quite some time. I think Doug Williams, who was fired on September the 11th, all right, regardless whether or not you agree with the firing or not, Doug Williams kept this tempest in a teapot under wraps for a long time. I think the fact that the administration has agreed to make improvements to the weight room, its facilities, which is the backbone of a recruiting element for this school, says volumes about what things have gone wrong. And also, I put a lot of stock in what Doug Williams said about the players. He congratulated them, said that they took a stand, they stood up for what they believe. If we ask our young people, and in this, these are 17 to 21, 22-year-old young men, they have come into the institution at Grambling, and we educate them. We want them to stand up and make the decisions that are best for them. 75% of the football team agreed to boycott practices and Saturday's game in Jackson against Jackson State. 22 players showed up for the bus ride there. They decided it wasn't worth it, I guess, whatever. The fact that they have put themselves out on a line here, okay, to bring attention to some wrongdoings. There was talk of staph infections also that are running rampant up there. I don't know if that's true, that was mentioned as well. But the fact that the university said that they're going to make these improvements within 2 to 3 weeks for the facilities, and also they removed another assistant coach, and they installed Dirt Winston, who Ricky is familiar with, former Saint, says volumes as well. So I say, I don't applaud the players. I think they did the right thing, however.
Torrance.
Yes, I agree with you. This has been a black eye not only to Grambling, but to the SWAC schools. I attended Alcorn State, which is SWAC school. This affects us as well because now everything is being brought out. These are some things that's been going on in some of these schools, but a lot of these schools have improved their facilities and all. This is a big health and safety issue here that these kids stood up for. I remember back in my days playing, sometimes our uniforms would not get washed. Now, us back then, times have changed a whole lot. A lot of revenue has been made, and I don't think one thing I don't think they do at some of these HBCUs, I don't think they use the money properly. I don't think they're using it wisely, using where it should be. I think it should first go to the health and safety of the kids before it go to some of these other things, sort of like the bands and whatnot.
Rick?
Well, I mean, I look at the situation, and I know that the front office, you know, those guys, they know they got to do better. And I seen the chancellor on there yesterday, you know, he vowed that he would do better and stuff, you know. So I think that, you know, they talk to the players and let the players know they're going to do better. I think that the problem will get solved.
Brian, you wanted to make one more point.
Yeah, the thing is, look, essentially this is a work stoppage, all right? And there's things that I'm not agreeing with how they did it. I have to believe that they were backed into a corner.
Right.
But it was a work stoppage, and they did what they felt was right, and now they're back at work.
Yes, they knew.
All right.
They knew.
Time to render a verdict here, so we're going to do so at this time. There is no question that there's fault to be placed all around, but the primary fault lies with the administration at Grambling. First and foremost, Doug Williams had a bad year last year as head coach. If you weren't sold on him and what he was doing with the program, why did you bring him back this year and dismiss him after just 2 games? Who does that? How much sense does that make, not only in the midst of a season, but early on in the season? You talk about killing morale. You talk about uprooting a program. You bring in Coach Ragsdale and he lasts, what, a couple of days? And he's gone? And now you got Dirt Winston in charge, and you wish Dirt nothing but the best, and we hope something can be accomplished there. As mentioned before, you know, out of the ashes rises the phoenix. The good news is that attention has been brought to the deficiencies and the neglect, and as a result, now some things will be done perhaps to make this once proud program somewhat viable again. And I stress somewhat because they've disappeared basically from the face of the earth in terms of that level of football. They're not viable in the SWAC. And Torrance appreciates it because he was part of it and he saw what Grambling was at one time and can be again. But it takes commitment from the top. Let's hope Dirt Winston gets an opportunity. We hear about bus trips to Indiana. We hear about the staff infections. We hear about the locker room. We hear about morale. We see the coach being fired, an iconic figure in the history of the school. And I'm not here to defend Doug Williams. His record wasn't any good. How much of that was him? How much of that was a lack of administrative support? I'm not sure who could have gotten the job done there in that situation. And to watch where Grambling and Southern as well has slipped to in recent years is really disappointing. Eddie Robinson was a great man. He did unbelievable things and was incredibly gracious. And Pete Richardson, he doesn't look so bad now to all those people that wanted him out of Southern based upon what he accomplished over an elongated period of time. Bottom line, the administration clearly at fault. And now that the light has been shined on Grambling, Louisiana, things are being done, and that, my friends, is a good thing. When we return in just a moment, we'll turn our attention to LSU and their debacle at Oxford, Tulane, which is good stuff. High school, it's always good. And it always happens right here on sportsNOLAtv. Back in just a moment on WHNO Channel 20. Ken Trahan, Moe's Pizza, 1112 Avenue H in West Wego as sportsNOLAtv continues. So glad you've joined us here this evening. Well, college football did not go well for the LSU Tigers. They were sitting pretty at number 6. A lot of teams lost. They had a chance to move up in the first BCS standings. They were at Oxford against a team that was just absolutely bludgeoned by injuries. And Zach Mettenberger reverted to Zach Mettenberger from 2012, forcing balls deep. And then Bo Wallace, on the other hand, was tremendous, 30 of 39, and was basically unstoppable. LSU's defense could not get off the field on third down. You knew they were in trouble from the start, Brian.
We saw bad Zach in this game, and they couldn't get Bo Wallace. 11 of 18
On third down.
third down conversions, Ole Miss. You can't do that. You can't do that.
Somebody did their homework over there in Ole Miss. Those plays that Zach was trying to throw, he could not get them. Somebody was always there. Those guys did their homework. They got out coached this game.
Well, Ricky, as you looked at the game, Ole Miss had all kinds of defensive players out of the game, so they were just playing a two-deep shell. It was there underneath all night. You just had to be patient.
Well, I mean, you should have had the ball on the outside. I can't believe just like that scoring a touchdown on the outside. I mean, they had the ball down the middle and then float the ball up, and all the safety did was just stayed home and got some easy interception.
You know what, Kenny? I was surprised that they ran the ball effectively when they did try to run it, and I thought LSU got away from that during the second half.
27-24 final. Ole Miss at 525 yards, which is absurd. And I think we got a false positive from the Florida game, Brian.
Yeah.
Florida's not any good offensively. No. This LSU defense is average to mediocre.
And Bo Wallace played lights out. I mean, they had a hard time dealing with him. And you're right. I think defense obviously took a step backward, and I agree with these guys. LSU got outplayed, outcoached, and outscored.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt. I thought Les Miles was refreshingly honest following the game, as well he should be, because they were a very poorly prepared football team, and they did not make necessary adjustments during the game either, which was disappointing. Torrance, again, they faced a team they were better than, and they faced a team that was just beat up and had all kinds of starters out. This is an inexcusable loss.
Yes, you can't come into a game like this when you have an opportunity to move up in the rankings and just throw one away. I thought they just was unprepared, and like you say, they didn't even make any adjustments, which we knew from years past in the BCS championship game. They didn't make any adjustments against Alabama. LSU does not make great adjustments.
All right, go ahead, Rick.
What I think more, what LSU need to do is recruit better players. I mean, I see the secondary back there. They got to get more like Alabama and Florida State. They got to get a lot better players than what they got back there.
Well, the BCS standings, at least the first batch of those, came out after this past weekend's action, and here's the way they look. If the season ended today, it's Alabama and Florida State for the national championship, with Oregon a close third. Ohio State and Missouri, the two unbeatens on the outside looking in, along with Miami and Baylor, along with Texas Tech, who are unbeaten. LSU drops to number 13. Brian, it really is a debate over three teams for the two spots. If the season ended today, in your mind, who should those two teams be?
I'll tell you what, I've seen enough of Alabama. I'd like to see Florida State, and I'd like to see Oregon play, to be perfectly honest.
I like Ohio State too, though. I think 14.
But Kenny, you know what? I'll tell you what, LSU, and I hate to always put dollars and cents on things, but this loss could cost them potentially millions. All right, this could mean the difference between a BCS game and just a run-of-the-mill bowl game.
No doubt.
Peach Bowl.
Yeah, it's Chick-fil-A or something like that. You know, I'm hungry, but I don't want to hear you.
They might play
Crawfish Bowl.
Oh.
Now, there's an interesting thought.
That's a good one. I like that.
Tulane go 83, big great matchup. Hey,
like that.
call it the Crawfish Bowl. Bring it down into the Superdome. Let it sell out.
Ricky the matchmaker. I like it. Okay, speaking of Tulane, they had a bye week. They had a week off to heal up and get themselves ready for a big matchup with Tulsa in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome on Saturday. A Tulsa team that has manhandled Tulane in recent years, but this is a different Tulsa team. It's a different Tulane team. And Brian, this is another big game for Tulane. A victory gets them bowl eligible.
Absolutely, and Kenny, we look down the road. They play 4 very winnable games in the next 5 weeks. Could they be, what's that making? That would make them 9-2 going into a game against Rice for the Coosa West Championship.
You're getting ahead of yourself.
Who'd have thunk
It's
this,
pretty good
Kenny?
stuff, Torrance.
Oh, it's great because we came into this year looking at Tulane, not knowing how things are going to turn out with Coach CJ, but look at them now. They're turning out great for them. If they can keep this run going, man, out of these next 4, try to win 3, it'll be a great thing for them.
Should have Montana back this week, too, Ricky.
Oh, yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, they're going to help them recruiting. And that's the whole thing what Tulane needs. Tulane needs a couple of more good recruiting years, and I think they'll be right back up on top in college football.
All right, let's take a look now at our sportsNOLA.com, New Orleans Quarterback Club, WGSO 990 AM Prep Player of the Week for week number 7. He's talented junior wide receiver Michael Chigbu of Holy Cross. He's a beast. 7 catches, 137 yards, and a game-winning touchdown. 69 yards against Brother Martin in a 28-21 victory. That was part of our first NBC Showcase game, in which Holy Cross won that game, as mentioned, 28-21 over Brother Martin. And congratulations to Michael Chigbu, who'll be honored at the year-end luncheon of the New Orleans Quarterback Club, December 15th at the Cannery. Speaking of our first NBC Prep Showcase, we had a couple of games this past weekend, including number 1 St. Augustine against defending state champion Rummel in 5A. And this was a really good football game. And this is the final play of the game. It's 28-21 St. Aug. Leonard Fournette playing defense. Picks off the Chase Forcade pass. And guess what? You want to try to catch him? Want to try to tackle him? Think again. That's the final play of the game. So what was a jump ball game, 28-21, turns into a 35-21 St. Aug win. And as I've said before, Brian, he's the best player I've ever seen.
Kenny, I'll tell you what, I don't even think Ricky Jackson could have caught him. But look, before we go any farther, there's
I would
something
have never let him got in the head of me. I had to catch him.
there is something that I think that the three of us would like to bring to everyone's attention, and that our esteemed host here, Kenny Trahan, was inducted into the Rummel Athletic Hall of Fame this past Saturday. So you went in with your good and longtime friend, Ed Daniels here, and Kenny, from all of us here on the set at WHNO, we wish you, first off, congratulations, and it was very well deserved.
Yes, congratulations.
Well, that's very kind.
Yes,
And Brother
yes.
Galen on the right. Oh, they had to bring that up.
Who is that? Is that one of the Beatles?
Goodness gracious.
Look at that hair.
I know.
Look at the dude.
Is that Brian Wilson?
Look at the dude.
It was all good, man.
You gotta love it.
was styling.
Man,
They're
look
going
at
to
this
keep
guy.
shocking.
Is that a
God.
pride?
Oh, it was beautiful, man.
I'm telling you.
It was a real deal, okay?
The pills in your
It's all
mouth.
real.
Get some of that.
Those locks.
Yeah.
Did you see those bad pants?
Why didn't you show the Ed Daniels picture? I mean,
you're right about
seriously.
that.
That's a better picture. I was part of the style. Okay, look
Look
at
at
Ed.
those pants, man.
Ed's the top left, okay? Glasses, the hair,
Yeah, he's still
fingers. He's got a white belt on, right?
Geeky there.
That is a nerd, buddy. Okay?
He is a nerd.
That's Ed Daniels, and we love him, and he's great, and he deserves it, among many other honors. Terrific
Oh,
guy.
Lord.
That was a great week. We thoroughly
and
enjoyed
plaid,
it.
man.
And congratulations, and that's enough of the pictures. Steve DeMac, PVA bowler in the middle there. What do
Wow.
you want me to tell you? All right, enough already. Let's take a time out here. When we return, what's ahead for the New Orleans Saints when Sports NOLA TV continues from Moe's Pizza in West Wego. Italians do it better. Moe's Pizza, 1112 Avenue H in West Wego. Call 341-9650. Unbelievable pizza. Tremendous lasagna specialty. The breadsticks are outstanding. Spaghetti and meatballs off the charts. The rolls are terrific. The wraps are great. Just get the red gravy of any sort. And by the way, the chicken wings are pretty good too. Moe's Pizza. Thanks to Jeff Arselman and the entire crew of Moe's Pizza. Jeff, we appreciate it. Thanks for having us here at Sports NOLA TV once again this evening. The Saints and the Bills. Saints have never beaten the Bills in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, and they'll have a tough time with the team that just came off of a victory over Miami this past weekend at Miami. So, not easy, Brian. This will be a test.
No, it isn't. And Thad Lewis, the rookie kid, we're going to see Geno Smith in 2 weeks. Mario Williams, you know, nothing's easy in this league, I don't think, anymore.
No, you have to show up. We had an opportunity to sit back a week, take a week off, and come back. Hopefully, come back prepared and healthy, ready to make this run for the remainder of the season.
And I tell you what, man, every week, you know, you got these young quarterbacks. I don't know where they're coming from, but I'm telling you, they showing up. All these rookies showing up all around the league.
I hear you. Let's take a look at the Saints' upcoming schedule. Of course, we know the Bills this weekend. Then it's at New York to play the Jets against a pretty good team with a good rookie quarterback. Then against the Cowboys, who have the division lead. And then a tough one with San Francisco, but it's at home. It's a tough stretch, Brian. Got to win 3 or 4.
I would agree totally. That, and then there's 2 more games after that, Kenny, too.
Got to win 3 or 4, George.
Yes, I say 3 or 4. Just win the quarter. That's all we need to do. Win
And
the
beat the
quarter.
teams in your conference,
Well,
right?
I mean, you know, 2-2 ain't going to be the worst thing in the world, but you want to win 3 of them. But I like for the Saints to win all 4 of them.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much. Great job. And for the entire crew, now this is Ken Trahan saying thanks for joining us. Be a good sport. God bless you one and all. Mounting good and heading home. So long.